Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a business, a B2B business, and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. Peter Boniface is originally from Sandwich, Massachusetts, where he began learning how to cook and blend flavors from his mother. He started cooking professionally and working in the restaurant business in 1983, moved to Steamboat Springs, Colorado in 1991, where he worked in various roles in the restaurant and hospitality industry. He saw a need for a quality delicatessen in the Steamboat Springs market in 1999 with David Pepin. He opened the first Yampa Sandwich Company, and he joins me today. Hey, Peter, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
So we were just talking here. I told you that I had the tuna, the albacore sandwich from Yampa Sandwich Company for lunch today, and it was quite good. So I highly recommend it. I'm actually thinking about sneaking over there tomorrow.
Perfect.
Hey,
we've got new offerings. You're gonna have to try some new LTOs that just launched this past week. So,
what do you recommend?
Well, we have a short rib banh mi, really delicious with some Asian flavors, and we're doing a pork carnitas torta as well. So really warming sandwiches for this fall season.
Great. So as long as you bring that up, those are fairly unique sandwiches. How do you kind of come up with that idea? You see the kind of those ingredients like carnitas and tacos and things like that, but how do you come up with those ideas?
Well, I do a lot of research. I eat a lot of sandwiches. So I go and I try and eat all our competitors' sandwiches all around, and not just competitors, but I'll travel to another metro area besides Denver, go to Seattle, Boston, New York, wherever, San Francisco, and have an idea of what's good, and I'll sample what's out there, and then the wheels get turning. So it always starts casting a really wide net, and having a number of different ideas, and then sort of narrowing it down as far as where I want to go with it. And it takes quite some time to get to the end point and where I want it to be. So yeah, but it's a fun process, and that's my favorite part of the job. So
as I mentioned in when I introduced you there, you experienced learning to cook from your mother. How did that kind of influence you?
Oh, it influenced me huge, and I without me even realizing it. I had no idea growing up what kind of impact it was going to have on me. But my mother is Italian, and so is my father. So growing up in an Italian household, we would Sandwich, Massachusetts is on Cape Cod, and back at that period of time, it was very country like, which it's not today, but we would do all the berry picking and making jams and oystering and go fishing and catch tons of fish, and then my mother would have me clean all the fish and wrap them and pack the freezer for the winter with the fish. So I learned how to shuck shellfish, break down fish, things like that. And then when I got a job as a dishwasher at a restaurant, when I was old enough to work, they realized that I had some kitchen skills, and so I got out of the dish pit right away, and all my buddies were stuck there. So
what did you end up doing when they realized that?
making sheet pans of bacon wrapped scallops and, shucking shellfish, oysters, and doing a lot of prep work for the restaurant was doing, classic Yankee cooking, which isn't very interesting, but it was, lots of breadcrumbs, butter, and lemon and parsley and
Sure,
fish.
sure.
And that was basically it, whether it was, lobster or cod or, bluefish or things like that. Break down the fish, put them in the ceramic boats with some butter and top them with the breadcrumbs and, have them all prepped up. And then you just take them and drop them in the boiler or broiler and brown the breadcrumbs and put it on the plate, baked potato, vegetables, lemon, boom, out the door. So pretty simple stuff, but it had an impact on me in that way. First, accelerating my professional career, but also me having an understanding of what good, simple cooking and flavors were as a youngster. And so I didn't have really any desire at that point to work in the restaurant business or anything for the rest of my life. But what ended up happening was, I used that platform to make money all through high school and college. And so I got to know the business really well through that. And then, going to college, and I got an economics degree. And so I had an understanding of how to run a business and all. And I think that that's played a big part in why I've been successful, because I've so many people that go into the restaurant business, they're like, oh, you're a great cook or whatever, you should open a restaurant, but they have no idea how to run a restaurant. And so, I think that's what gave me my advantage when I first went out on my own, is that I understood the economics of it and business models and how to make it work beyond the end product, putting together a good end product. So
Did
yeah.
the fact that you grew up in a town called Sandwich have any influence in what you do today?
The area had influence on me and what I'm doing today, but no, it wasn't anything in my head that where I wanted to be in the sandwich business. I came out to Steamboat Springs to be a ski bum, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out to Steamboat and ski for a year. And after a year here, then that turned into 2. And then, I was working in the restaurant business here, and the places that I worked for, I didn't have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that I worked for at the business level. And I saw what they were doing, and I had worked at much higher caliber, better run restaurants back in Boston and on Cape Cod. And I knew that I could run a better restaurant than they were doing at that point in time. And so I kind of was surveying the market after my second season here in Steamboat. I was just decided, hey, this is a really cool lifestyle and a beautiful place out here. And if I can give it a go and support a different kind of a life for myself, then I should do that. And I know that I can be competitive here in this landscape of restaurants and Steamboat. And so I started to, brainstorm and journal and write down ideas that I had. And I decided that nobody knew how to make a good sandwich in Steamboat. And furthermore, at that point in time in Colorado, back in the early 90s, I was like, there really wasn't a good salami that I could find in Colorado. I was like, nobody has a good salami here. I was like, I need to bring a great salami to Colorado and do that. And so my business partner that I started Yampa Sandwich Company with, and back then we started it as Backcountry Provisions was what we named it. We designed it to make all of our sandwiches for the rafting guides and the fishing guides and so on. And still to this day, we handle pretty much every major guide in town, packing their lunches for them to go. So that was the concept of the business. Hey, all these people that are going up on the ski mountain and going on a hike and whatnot, wouldn't it be great if they had a place that they could go and grab a great sandwich to take out into the backcountry with them? And so that's how it all started. And we were successful right off the bat. It really took off. And I think it took off because of, first off, the quality of the product and bringing something into the market that was not currently here, and that there was a demand for. And so I think that was the first thing that people were like, hey, this is really good food that these guys are putting together. And then second, at that point in time in Steamboat, there was a mud season or shoulder seasons, and there still is to this day, but the town has grown so much that at that point in time, everything would shut down. Restaurants would just close their doors and people would leave town for the shoulder season months. And, my business partner and I, we didn't have the money to keep the business going. If we were going to shut it down, we had to continue to try and grow the business, since we were a new business. So we decided to stay open during the shoulder season, and we really gained a lot of market share then. And that really is what, catapulted us to sustainability within our first year of business. So,
Wow.
I mean, pretty much, trying to do the best job we could, and showing up every day is what
Yeah.
for us. So,
Well, that's really a great story. Thanks for sharing that. I was going to ask you kind of how the idea came about. So you said you were working in the restaurant industry. You had ideas for starting your own restaurant. You could probably do a better job. What were some other finalists in terms of kind of like niche? You opened a delicatessen. Were there some other ones that you were considering?
Well, Italian food is my specialty. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think I make better pasta than anyone else out there, and better pasta than I do sandwiches. But it came down to, what can we do that we can afford to open up, and
Mm-hmm.
open up a large scale dining restaurant was something that was going to be a challenge with our economic position at that point in time. And as well, we were tending bar as our jobs, which was great, ski all day, go tend bar at night. But I, at that point in time, after close to a decade of pouring drinks, both through college, and then after college, and into my stint here in Steamboat, I was all done with alcohol. I didn't want to be around people that were partying and that sort of late nights and whatnot. I just was like, that's not going to be good for me going forward. And as a family man, it's certainly been much better for me to not have a restaurant that's open until late at night. So that was part of the design as well. Hey, something that we can operate during the day, and then shut down and not have to operate during dinner.
Yeah, I could see that. So I have two questions about kind of evolution. First, as a Colorado resident, I'm well aware that Steamboat Springs and Steamboat is a very popular place. How has the restaurant market evolved up there during the last 24 years?
Oh, it's really sophisticated quite a bit. At the time in the early 90s, I'd say the best restaurants were just your classic steakhouses here. There wasn't a whole lot of variety in fine cuisine, and now there's some very good chefs and very good restaurants in town now. So the landscape has changed quite a bit. And of course, the whole craft beer movement that's gone on in Colorado there's some very good brewers up here now as well, that have the everything from the brewery with a tap room to full scale restaurant that brews beer and has pizza ovens and whatnot. And yeah, so there's some people that do some great work here. Yeah, so it's certainly evolved quite a bit. And I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, are you a skier? Do you ski at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, so when you go into a ski mountain, typically, back then you'd go in to get something to eat, and it was a bowl of chili or
Mhm.
some French fry. I mean, that was all there really was to offer. And now ski areas have full on 5-star restaurants, on 5-star dining on mountain
Sure.
nowadays. So
So
which is
how has your restaurant then, Yampa Sandwich Company? You mentioned that you even started with a different name and it had a kind of a singular purpose, but now it's evolved into multiple locations. But just in terms of your offerings, how has that kind of evolved over time?
right. Well, so initially we just opened up, and all we were doing were cold cut sandwiches and cold cut sandwiches. And then we had people coming in to the Steamboat location, and they were just like, "Oh, hey, can I get that hot? Can I get that hot?" And so we had a convection oven that we were using to roast vegetables and bake cookies and do that sort of thing in the restaurant. And so we, again, at that point in time, we were casting a somewhat of a narrow net as far as the sandwiches all being cold and cold cuts, but then a wider net as far as trying to offer different things, making cheesecakes and things like that, and seeing what people really were going to enjoy. And so we linked up with a great producer of cold cuts that was out in California, and it was a family run, second generation, German style delicatessen producer. And these guys made awesome bolognas and liverwursts and roast beefs and turkey. Just really, they did everything right, and great sausages and stuff. And so um just the connection we made with them really helped us really get some top quality products in and really elevate what our offering was. And then when people started asking for sandwiches hot, we were like, okay, well, we need to change how we're cooking things because we can't get the food out fast enough. And so we ended up buying new ovens where we could toast the sandwiches off much quicker. First we went to those conveyor ovens where you drop the sandwich in, it toasted up. And then eventually, after a few years of that, we went to a faster technology. Now we use these speed ovens that are impingement ovens, and they run on convection and then a little bit of microwave. And by and large, the whole industry is using them. You see them in Starbucks and all over the place. And the big advantage of those is they ramp up that convection at 100 miles an hour, and it can toast a sandwich in a minute,
Oh wow.
really, really fast, and get it hot. And then you can get, obviously, your throughput goes up. And as well, the newest models that we just switched over the entire system with, they're all connected to Wi-Fi. So when I come up with a new recipe, I can design it and program the cooking time just right, and then send it out via Wi-Fi, and it goes out there to all the restaurants. So it's really, that's been quite an evolution. But as far as Dave and I have two partners named Dave Pepin, who was my original partner in '99. He and I went to high school together, and so we had worked together in restaurant kitchens in high school and college, and we knew we worked well together. So that's where we partnered up and founded Backcountry Provisions. And then we didn't have this idea that we were going to be a multi-unit concept, but we had a number of people coming through the location in Steamboat, and they were just like, "Oh, we wish there was one of these up in Jackson, Wyoming. This would be great in Jackson, Wyoming." Or, "Oh, we wish you were in Park City." Anyhow, we had a bunch of friends in Jackson, Wyoming. We decided, hey, let's go poke around up in Jackson, Wyoming. Found a location that looked really good, went up there, built it out, opened up, boom, same thing. It took off right away, and we did really, really well there. And so then two years after opening that restaurant, we decided, hey, let's go to Fort Collins and go to a larger market, and thinking that it should have been really easy to open up there in Fort Collins with, you know, instead of a town of 8 to 10,000 people, you're going to a town of 80,000 people. And it was in 2007. And so we found a great location downtown that was just a wreck. And it was the old Cash Laputa Rifle Works down in downtown, and the owner had passed away, and so the store had closed down, and it was sitting vacant, and it was just a total mess. And we started ripping it apart and found all the old Douglas fir floors and the tin ceilings from the original 1900 building there in Fort Collins. And I think we turned it into a really neat delicatessen restaurant. But for whatever reason, that business didn't take off right away, and we were really challenged our first year. We're just like, oh, why are things not popping here in Fort Collins? And we felt that a lot of people didn't get the name or didn't know what we were. We were getting phone calls, answering the phone, and people were like, yeah, do you rent snowshoes? Do you what's what do you, they didn't know what we did. And so we had to change our name so that people understood what we did. And so we first went to a branding agency in Fort Collins, and we changed the name to Backcountry Delicatessen, and that worked great. And then, it really helped accelerate the business from that standpoint, changing the name and getting some help from professional marketers, which I was not a professional marketer. I knew how to make food taste good and service customers and manage a restaurant, but I wasn't a marketer. So that helped quite a bit. But then the second Dave was his family had a ski house up here in Steamboat, and then we were one of his favorite restaurants, and he was in between jobs. He actually didn't have a job at the time, but he was an analyst for private equity and a master CPA. And he was like, hey, I want to bring this concept to Denver. And Dave and I were kind of like, well, I don't know. That's not really what we do, but sure. We'll, after several meetings with him and really getting a good feel for him as a person, we felt like, hey, he has a lot in his skill set that he can help us out with, and he thinks this is a go in Denver, and he's put together some really sophisticated models and whatnot. Let's go do it. And we put the business together for him and opened it up at the 16th and Wazee location there in downtown Denver. And that one, boom, took off right away again. And so we were, more sophisticated with our marketing and had the new branding and whatnot. And so, we really nailed it with that one. And I remember he was still looking for another analyst job, and so he was hanging around the restaurant as it was evolving, and super busy, people everywhere, and he's got an apron on and he's hustling next to me, putting out sandwiches, and he just looks over at me and he's like, I'm never going back to a cubicle again. He's like, this is it. This is what we're gonna do. I was like, all right, let's do it. So he was kind of the one that was just like, hey, it's all in the multiples. Like, if we have something here, you guys have really done a good job with the product, and it obviously there's a strong demand for it, and so let's take it to the next level. So
you said you kind of started out a little bit slow in Fort Collins. That even resulted in changing the name, but now you have two locations up here. Obviously something happened.
Right. Well, I think offering great customer service and an honest product is something that people miss the mark on. And as well, we really try, and in this day and age, there's so few customer touches. I think people are craving customer touches, especially post pandemic. People enjoy interaction with humans, and we as a business now have all the online ordering and technology that eliminates human interaction, which is, great for your labor cost and whatever. But at the end of the day, people like to go into a restaurant where they're recognized and you know them and you have credibility and they trust you and they know that you're going to do a good job for them, And so I think that was a big part of what really, like I said, consistency, reliability, and credibility with the product is something that really, really comes through. And, that's hard to do with an elevated product that you have a lot of people involved in the end product. It goes through a lot of steps to get there to the plate, even though it's just a sandwich. It really, it's a lot of hands touch it. So you have to really have good training and trust your people, and as well let your customers know that if there is a problem, just let us know and we'll fix it. We'll make it right. We want to make sure that you're satisfied, and that's our responsibility to our customers, is to make sure that they do have a good experience, and that they appreciate what we're serving them. So that part is really simple. Just do a good job and be as honest as you can and really stand behind your product. So
yeah, it sounds great. I have one more question for you, but first,
sure.
Tell me how people can find out more about Yampa Sandwich Company. I know you have 2 locations on the way, right?
We do. We have 2 locations on the way. They should open in the next month or so. You can find out more about Yampa Sandwich Company at yampasandwichcompany.com.
Okay, awesome.
So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Hey, so last question for you. When you go to your restaurant as a customer, do you have kind of a go-to combination of items or a go-to item of choice?
Do I personally have a go-to combination of choice? I go all over the place because that's my job, and I do like a lot of variety. But some of the things that I think that we do very well, we have this one sandwich, the Ridgeline, which is by far our number one seller, and it's essentially our slant on a club sandwich, and it's excellent. I'm not going to lie, it's great. But hey, it's what everybody recognizes, and they feel comfortable with that, and so they gravitate towards it. But our Cuban sandwich is absolutely fantastic. Our Italian cold cut sandwiches, our Grand and our Dolomite, are great. They're as good as anyone's. Our hot Italian beef, cut it out, off the wall. We also do a roasted eggplant sandwich, which is excellent as well, and we have some great salads. So
okay. Awesome.
I think I probably left a few out of that, but those are some of the go-tos that I like. I think our Cuban is great. I recently went to Miami to eat Cuban sandwiches down there, and I think that ours is better. So that's just
I can vouch for the white albacore. That's fantastic as well.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Peter, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for all your time and sharing your great stories with us.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.